oh wait, we do want to go a little more modern, and that's what Jody and Ryan were suggesting. And so I defer to the professionals.
And I would also say that I know I would like to talk with Jody and Ryan some more about everything that everyone has asked or commented tonight in relation to where we're going forward and how that may want us to slightly think about what we're doing. I'm sure the basics are the same, but the actual message or how we implement it may be a little bit different. The other parts, I'm sure, are standard marketing, how you reach your audience, and I don't think the audience has changed. But we need to make sure that we do include everyone from Thorngate to Meadow Lake and anything in between, so that it is clear it's a universal message for all residents, and just how we get it there. So certainly I think we'll be talking about that some more in between this. As I said, this is an ongoing living process, and I don't think there's ever an end. There's just a big milestone, and then you continue to evolve. So,
Mayor, can I ask one more question?
yes, Mr. Moore.
And then I'll leave. I won't bother you.
You said you were going to ask one more and not bother me anymore, but I won't hold you to
You
it.
said you interviewed 36 people?
30-ish people.
Yeah, well, what were the age limits if you only looked at 30 people? What were the ages? What was the
30 to
range?
70.
30 to 70.
What about the 80-year-olds?
Well, I didn't ask how old they were. I was making a judgment that they're 70 rather than 80. I don't know.
I'm
I
an
didn't ask.
85, I'm an 83-year-old next week.
I wasn't going to ask if they were 80 or 70. So
Can I say that
30
my-
to 80 then, probably.
Mike, you're a perfect exhibit of why they didn't want to talk to me.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Although you do bring good candy for the Halloween party, so you're not all bad.
Yeah, I bring it all.
So just so I'm clear for what we're doing tonight. So tonight, the resolution would be to approve the logo and the colors, which would be the 4 seasonal colors for that.
That would be the least and general theme, but again, this is all
So
flexible.
that's kind of, the general thing is kind of,
Yeah, I know, it's very iffy, so if you just want to go with that, I'll be happy with that.
hold on, further clarify. We're not voting on the next steps, or we're just voting that on the logo and colors?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
General theme
And
logo,
I-
or this is?
The direction,
Well,
the
the
direction.
logo, but Eric, if you want to come back in 2 weeks with what you think is a better idea, I'm sure we'll all entertain it. Again, I'm not saying it's chiseled in the stone, but we're trying to make some movement forward. And much as I'd love to have everything approved tonight, I don't think it's at a stage where I can ask you to do so. So tonight, we have the color scheme, the logo, and some of those things. So yes, I'd ask for
Basic
that.
messaging.
I think once we do this is just my comment, Bruce, you could weigh in, I guess. I think once we approve the logo and we approve the colors, wouldn't the rest of it just be up to the executive officer to put together, information for the website and that kind of stuff? I mean, do we really even need to come back to the board for any of this?
Mike, it is to the extent that I want to be able to, or may want to be able to use Jody and Ryan, and that would cost money.
Obviously, that's the
But
contract.
other than that, yes, I could implement it if there's no cost to it without having to come back. So your description is correct. I guess I'm subtly saying I think I may be coming back to ask for some more money, but I got to give you more detail, and I can't ask for it tonight.
How much do
I'd
you
go a
need?
little bit further, and I think that it's not unreasonable for the board to at least make a statement that they would support what was presented in general, rather than just leaving it up to the mayor to implement it. I think a sense of the board saying that these are good ideas, we agree with them, we agree with what they're trying to accomplish, is helpful. Not just the logo and the color, because this is a major change in where we've been and where we're going to go. And I don't think I would just leave it up to one person. I think that support would be beneficial. And if we have an objection, I think that would be important as well. I'm not afraid embrace it, but I just,
Yeah, I think I like how it is that if we get into the minutia of it, I think we're gonna have a lot of differing opinions.
I want to get the minutia.
Okay, so and that's why I'm gonna make a motion that we approve tonight the logo, and the colors scheme that has been recommended by, the presenters. And wait and see if there's a second.
Okay. Is there anything else that is that tangible? I think that's really all
The
we.
font, so the
Oh,
logo.
the font, the logo, all of the graphic materials that you
Right.
showed.
Right.
Is that your motion, Mike?
That would be my motion.
Okay, and you agree with that on second? Okay. Further discussion from the board? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Opposed? It's
Nay.
approved. Okay. All right. Yes. All right, thank you. So you guys can go home now. Thank you very much for the good work. And again, we will be obviously talking and trying to get some of this put together. And if nothing else, we're doing everything that Trustee Haber wants me to do.
We're available for sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Okay, following along, actually one of Henry's questions was whether or not the open space might be valuable to us, is the recommendation that Cheryl and I, joining with Eric, since he got tagged in a little later, of a landscape architect with a design services or plan and with experience in the recreational design area as well. You may remember when we talked about building or doing the paving next door, there were some questions as to whether we had fully explored the recreational areas, that design, were there reasons to change it or do it differently. So we attempted to identify people who would have the type of expertise that the board seemed to be asking for. We found 2 candidates. Their proposals are attached, and as you can see, the proposal from Studio Park Avenue was the significantly lower proposal. In front of you now is Ben. Ben, I will let you say your last name.
It's Kachai.
Okay. And this is the gentleman who made the lower recommendation. Cheryl will, of course, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe both of us were very favorably impressed with our conversations with Ben about both his experience and the types of things we were looking at. So we would recommend to the board that Studio Park Avenue be retained for the second opinion on landscaping, in particular looking at the 320 property. And I threw in the property on the corner as well, since, as has been pointed out several times tonight, that area has not been utilized for recreation to the extent that we had hoped. And Ben, with that, let me throw it over to you if you wish to say anything to the board, and I'm sure you'll get some questions from what you've seen.
Sure, no problem. First, I'm Ben Kachai, and I'm resident and a landscape architect with Studio Park Ave. And I submitted a proposal to the board, and in that proposal, it's basically a 3-part proposal. The first part of the proposal is kind of an inventory and analysis to study the existing site using all the available information that we have. We do have survey, a tree survey, and a pretty detailed ecological study, and then as we learned tonight, some community information, and I'll use all that community information, including the survey for the plan. Take all that information, study it, and kind of combine it and synthesize it, and create a couple concepts as to what to kind of build or what to install in the space. And whether that's just paths and additional ecological or areas, or a play area, or there's many different directions to go that will combine all that information and come out with those answers, but instead of a couple different concepts. We'll take those concepts back to the village and have them, and work with them to synthesize those concepts down into a final plan and use that information, put that information together in a final plan, and then present that as the final plan for eventual development.
Okay, thank you. Pretty straightforward and concise. Are there questions from the board? Chris?
What specific projects have you been involved with that are similar, both in size and type, to what we're looking at here?
I've been doing, working with park districts for 25 years, and I have a 25-year relationship with the Deerfield Park District. They're, to equate it one-to-one, I have done ecological restorations that include kind of a bigger park area down to municipal buildings. It's kind of taking all of the parts of my background and putting them together.
Where specifically, though? I mean, is there a park in Deerfield that you've been?
Yes, there's several parks in Deerfield. One, I did work on the golf course when they reversed the nines and the entryway at the golf course here. Maplewood Park, Woodland Park, Riverwoods Park, Clear Tree Park.
That was in the supplemental thing that was put at your desk this evening. I'm sorry if you got confused on getting that out.
It didn't make it in the pack.
Sorry.
As well as work with Highland Park, Wheeling, Northbrook, Lake Forest.
I'm in Studio Park, and were you working with somebody else at the time? Or
I was, yes.
Yeah.
Completed about 300 park projects ranging in size from a quick sketch to give to a park district for installation all the way to restoration of Buckingham Fountain.
Buckingham Fountain.
Yeah, that's a whole different set of challenges.
I mean, I went to LinkedIn, and there were a lot of, listed places, which is why I asked, and then I did not have this when I was doing that. And so your firm was founded in November of 2017. That's why I was curious.
Sure, yes. I worked for Thompson Dyke and Associates, which was in Northbrook for 14 years before the economy came and got them. And then I most recently worked for Ratio Architects in downtown. For opening my own.
I think it would be fair to say he's got a pretty wide range if you look at the things. Again, I apologize for not giving you the resume. If you look, for example, at the very last page, you'll see it's Rosewood Park in Highland Park, which I think looks to be rather comparable to much of what we have.
Rosewood Park, there's a pond in the upper area that was designed by Jens Jensen. And that is a restoration plan of the James Jensen Pond in Rosewood Park. As far as I've worked quite extensively with Applied Ecological Services, who is your ecological consultant, all the way back to '93 when we did a riverbank restoration for the Skokie River in Botanic Garden. Kind of a similar look to what you do at Briarwood Park in Deerfield. Restoration of that. Also did work at Aloha Farms in Lake Forest, which is there's a restoration and kind of an enhancement with several play areas to kind of blend those play areas within that natural environment.
One of the things that we were looking for, Chris, and again, Cheryl, jump in if I'm not agreeing with you, what you were thinking, but we wanted to make sure we found somebody who had a diverse background that had worked both on woodland and what we would think of as ecological projects, similar to what we've already had designed, but had also worked on other things so that we could be sure that he could bring a fresh view to it. And while many of us believe that the current design is very good, there have been questions raised, and this way we will have a second opinion that will hopefully be able to calm some of the fears that we may not be looking at all things and considering all of the residents.
The committee that was part of the selection, did that include anybody from the RPC?
No. And he has done no work with the RPC or any of that. Since the RPC was so intrinsically involved in the earlier project, we thought that it would be appropriate, even though we appreciate the work that they have done, that it would be just that much cleaner and remove any questions by making sure they weren't involved.
So my understanding is that we certainly, if we would like, can accept the RPC's developed campus plan as a whole. When John, our mayor, asked me to help with this, my understanding is that we were looking for someone else who could essentially provide us with a second opinion so that we can be sure that we've considered everything and then we can choose what we like.
Are there any other questions, Chris? I know you're still looking, so Eric.
Have you viewed our suggested plans?
I have. I've reviewed the plans by Nancy Hanning.
Yes, I mean, that covered the area that we were talking about, so he has that. He's got the work that Pat did. He's got the ecological work from Steve. Because again, we wanted to make sure that he both could review that plan, because most of us thought it was a good plan, and I think the only real question was the best plan. And so we again tried to find somebody who would have all the information and come at it fresh. And that's the whole point. So, Chris, you're...
Well, I'm just a little uncomfortable with the second opinion kind of thing, instead of working as a team.
Well, I don't know that one, we have certain time constraints, we need to move it, so part of it was to get that. Two, this is not meant to be hostile to anything that was done before. This is an attempt to find answers to some of the questions which some of the board members raised. And while they felt that the one plan may not have addressed it, and they questioned, have we examined everything, it was felt the best way to make sure that we got all of the answers was to get a fresh view of it. Now, if Ben comes back with something that's radically different, then obviously we'll have to figure out where we fall in between all of it. If he comes back saying the same thing, well then great, we know we've been there.
My point for asking the question is that if it's completely unbiased, then I don't think that viewing the prior plan would have been necessary. I think if he came to us, because he's already has a bias to what some of the residents or some of the groups within this community have already proposed, and therefore I don't think it would be unbiased.
May I jump in for a second? I've had a concern about the plan that was prepared by Nancy, only because I'm very sensitive when the subject came up of play areas and inviting the public in, that the village complied with the ADA. I've raised this probably 10 times in staff meetings, and I recognize that the landscape plan we have is very beautiful, but I've expressed my concern a number of times that we haven't had anybody reviewing it that I know of that has the capability to assure that we would be compliant with the ADA. It takes special expertise and resources. So one of the things I noticed is that you work with a number of park districts, and I encourage the mayor to find somebody with that background to make sure that we're not embarking on something that's going to come back later and hurt us. So this may be an answer to that concern. It may not be the only way to answer that concern, but I will own up to my responsibility in seeking to have some kind of review of what we're proposing from the standpoint of our ability to comply with law.
And my comment to your comment is that if he came up with a plan that was unbiased, with his expertise, he would have already known the compliance with the ADA. I'm saying he already has experience in that, so I'm not sure. I think he would devise a plan that was compliant.
Well, I was suggesting that somebody review the plan for compliance. So I mean, this has evolved maybe in a different way, but I'm just saying that I thought it was important for the village that we have somebody who has experience designing for children and for the public, and it's important that when you design something like this, you have that kind of.
And part of this is that we're trying to move forward on the 320 property where we both need to demolish a building and build a parking lot. I'm trying to do it in an economic way, and the question was raised, well, we looked at doing it so that we made sure we only built where we were before, and I'm trying to find out, are there other ideas? And frankly, from talking with Ben, I know he's already got some ideas that are different. So I don't think he's prejudiced by that. It's just something to look at, Mike.
My recollection, the reason why we had the discussion about bringing in another consultant was when we started to discuss the excavation of the parking facility and the property to the north. And there was some concern, I think it was raised by me, as to whether or not that parking lot should be located where it was shown on the plan. And I think at the time there were discussions that was the place that would cause the least removal of any mature trees. And I think I took a more long-term view and said something to the effect that, I don't remember exactly, but something to the effect that, I think we have to have a longer horizon, and sometimes you have to be less concerned about taking down a mature tree if it's going to create another benefit, and we can plant a new tree and make it part of the whole learning process too, a new one that can be developed or something. So that's my recollection of how this was all, how this was derived. So I guess my concern is, or my thought is the scope of this too broad, actually? And should we be more directed, as opposed to whether we should be developing a whole new plan that's going to be potentially a competing plan, or whether we should just have this gentleman kind of look at that plan, look at some of the concerns that some of us may have raised, and give us, articulate his thoughts on that. So that's my comment. Whether he can actually do that, I don't know. Whether that's something that's within the scope of what he'd like to do, but maybe we should be thinking a little more focused.
I totally agree with your description and recollection, because that is the same as I have, that We had the plan, and the question was, is this the best parking lot? Because the main focus was not taking out trees, and would it be better if not? That was one of the major charges that I gave Ben, or we talked about with Ben. At the same time, and that was what we had the primary and most immediate focus on. So we're not far away from what you're saying. Second, I did want to take advantage, since we have that corner that we have such a problem with, of someone who has done work in an urban environment with designing these things, given all the problems we have with access. Is there any way to make that more attractive? So I will admit I expanded his scope on that one. But as far as a total review or designing new, no, that wasn't really what it was. It was more the second opinion, but made clear if he felt that there were major problems, then we could discuss and go from there. And that he should not feel like he had to follow anything that was there. We wanted a totally fresh view. I even mentioned, I think it was Trustee Goldstein who had said, well, what about having the parking across the street and have this all be open space? And while I may not agree with that myself, I said, look at that too, and what are your best recommendations, given what we have and what we have here. So I think what we've asked for was very close to what you were talking about. And we want to try to make this happen quickly enough that we can get the work done by Halloween, so we have whatever type of parking we can have next year. Any other questions from the board?
I will say, as it relates to ADA, I have completed several ADA transition plans for both villages and park districts, and that's a required component of Title II of the ADA. And I've also spoken about ADA transition planning at the Illinois Association of Park Districts Annual Convention.
Considering we thought we had ADA covered with the front door, which maybe we did, but we somehow still managed not to get the automatic door opener, I'm more than happy to have every set of eyes looking at that we can, because we certainly want this to be as accessible to everybody as we possibly can. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Then I would love to entertain a motion to, oh, Cheryl, you're making a face. That's the, I've got something to say, face.
Sorry. So when I was asked to do this work, I accepted mostly because you asked me to, and I
I
accepted
think
anyway.
we didn't cajole, yes.
You did kind of. But my interest is that we move forward with what, if anything, we want to do with these properties. And I would like to do that in a way that all of our board members feel satisfied that we have looked at the alternatives and we're doing what's best for Riverwoods. Is this the best way to go about it? I'm not positive. But I haven't heard a better suggestion. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. We had some questions which were valid, and we're trying to get as many answers as we can. So I would love to have a motion to accept Ben's proposal.
So moved.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain?
Aye.
Trustee Ford?
No.
Trustee Goldstein?
Aye.
Trustee Haber?
Aye.
Trustee Hollander? Aye. Motion carries 4-1.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, next item of business will be, I hope, blessedly much shorter. It is the ordinance, first reading of an ordinance amending the Riverwoods Village Code and fee schedule concerning extra duty officers, registration of solicitors, ecological cost share programs, and tree mitigation fees. Do I have a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've had first reading. Council, do you wish to make any comments before we move on?
Not unless someone has a question, I think it's pretty evident.
Okay, the next item of business then is the review of proposals and I hope acceptance of the municipal electrical aggregation supply agreement. As I think most of you know, we have taken advantage of the changes in the law that allow us to sign a contract on behalf of our residents for the supply of electricity. We have 3 different contracts that entails. Mr. Mudge is our advisor on that. We regret that we couldn't get you anything before the supplemental memorandum this afternoon, but we have like a 24 or 48 hour window that these documents, or these bids remain in effect, so we kind of have to get them to you at the last minute.
So the handouts that you have are the most recent in what we should be looking at.
Right, and we received those just this afternoon. So Cheryl, I think you've got the various ones with the lowest and the proposals.
Right. So we have 3 different accounts. The main one is for our residents. That's the one that says, it has the 12,848.82 number on top. And then we also have another contract for the pumping station and one for the street lighting. If you look at the different rates, you'll see that Dynegy is the low bidder. Really, the only question for us is if we want to go ahead and do a 3-year contract and get the lowest rate. The 3-year contract, I will point out to you on the street lighting one, which has only has the 3 bids on it. The 3-year lowest bidder is NC Squared, but the price is so close to the Dynegy price for administrative purposes, it probably just makes sense for us to just go with Dynegy across the board. Based on these numbers and my consultation with Mr. Mudge, who has been our consultant since we started the electric aggregation, I think it makes sense for us to do the 3-year term on all 3 of these, but Mr. Mudge is available to answer questions that anyone may have.
And in Rick's absence, let me repeat what I believe he said at the last meeting, which is over the history of aggregation, we have saved our residents well over $1 million in electrical fees. So this is certainly a worthwhile program, and we have received excellent advice at the last DVR meeting. We were more than happy to point out to Deerfield how much better we have done on our electrical aggregation than they did.
Just to clarify, there are 2 Exhibit A's on the final contract for the main program for the village. One is the traditional power option, which has a 1, 2, or 3-year option, and the other is the renewable power option, also which has a 1, 2, and 3-year election to make. Are we electing 3 years on both, or just 1?
So if it's the same as it has been, what happens is we elect for a 3-year, if we go for the 3-year, we elect for the company and the length of time, and then the individual residents can say, oh, I would like to have the green option. Would that still be the case?
To specifically answer your question, Attorney, if we go with the 3-year grade,
Yes.
Yeah, you have to talk really close.
Okay, if we go with the 3-year rate for the traditional, we should go with the 3-year rate for the 100% option. That way, if a resident, we're doing a 3-year contract, if a resident wants the green option, he's got that guaranteed for the 3 years.
So we're getting the benefit of either rate for 3 years, depending on what the resident chooses, but we should match the term of both rates to be 3 years. So
Right,
we don't have one expiring in the middle of our contract.
correct.
Yes, Mike?
One of the differences in the grid that I noticed was that the Dynergy price said when we look, if we're going to request some kind of a civic grant, that's going to be added to the bid price, whereas the MC squared price suggests that that includes the civic grant. I don't know what the civic grant means, I don't know how much that is, and I don't know how that affects the price, but I'd like to have that information.
In our request for purchase, the village has the option to receive a grant from a supplier. It would be added to the cost, and the last 2 contracts, the board voted no. We want the lowest price possible for residents. We don't want to have additional revenue from this.
But it looks like that additional revenue is already included in the MC squared price. So how much is that revenue? Because doesn't it have to be taken into consideration on the price? It says, yes, paid annually at the end of 12-month term. I don't know what's paid, but how does that affect the price? Because those prices are so close.
If it was selected, they would make one payment each 12 months.
And how much is that?
Whatever we said, typically it's 1 mil per kilowatt hour.
And is that added to the bid price? Because it doesn't say it's added to the bid price here.
Right. If you look at the second column for MC squared, like the 1-year rate would be 7.67 with 100% green option.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's virtually what their adder would be for a grant. And all the communities that we serve, we only have one community that had asked for the grant, and it's just, most people thought that it was a tax. But MC squared would be adding that on to our traditional rate and our green option rate.
Just so I understand, because that's not what the grid said, but just because when we're going to vote on this, I have to have an understanding. That notwithstanding that it doesn't say that it would be added to the bid price, you're saying that if we did take the grant, that grant would be added to the bid price and therefore would increase the bid price for MC squared.
Yes, we should probably correct our grid. If we look at RFP 13.2.
Right, see, if you look at the second to the last on that.
Yep.
That does not say, whereas the others, 1, 2, 3 of the others all say that it would be added to the bid price, that one does not say that.
Even though we don't have it there in black and white, it would be an adder.
Okay?
Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up, so.
Disagree?
Yes. I'm not sure I'm reading this correctly, but it appears that, for example, between the Dynergy Energy, which was, I guess, the one you recommended initially, and MC squared, that if one chose the renewable option, or the resident did, actually MC squared would be less expensive for them than the Dynergy one. Is that correct?
It's not for 3 years though. 3 years is 753 versus 755.
Years 1 and 2.
For 1 and 2, but if you're going to take a 3-year contract, then I assume you get the better price for all 3 years, don't you?
Well, I thought it was year 1, year 2, and year 3.
No, I don't think so.
You get the 3-year
It's a 3-year price.
That's
Got it. Good, but I asked my second.
Just for clarity, if you do a 3-year contract, that's the price you get month 1 through month 36. It's not 12 months at 1, 24 at the second one, and 36. It's all one
So
price.
it's a
all the way
3-year, I
through.
understand, it's a flat rate.
Okay,
The second question I had is, who is our present contractor?
it is Dynergy
Okay,
for the aggregation and also for the pumping.
all right.
The pumping comes.
Mike, I did have one question I need to ask. A resident called yesterday and said they had opted out before, but with the new aggregation, they would like to opt in. What's necessary for them to do?
They will get a letter, every time there's a change in the program, all letters go out on village letterhead, whether you're in the program or back on ComEd, or you get an opt-in with another supplier. So they should just watch for that letter, which would be coming out probably about the 1st of July, middle of July. And they can opt back in right now if they didn't go back to ComEd within 6 months. There's a 6-month waiting period to go back into the same supplier.
Okay, well, I think they opted out very early in the process, but one way or the other, they should look for the letter and just take the process or follow the instructions there.
Correct. And our existing rate is 6.941 cents right now. And if someone wanted to opt back in right now or join the program, that's good until the new rate starts in August.
Okay, we'll let them know that. Are there any other questions from the board?
I have one, just for my own application. So we have the ComEd rates that are indicated. Does ComEd tack on anything to these rates that we need to know about so that we're comparing, apples to apples?
Each year, ComEd changes their rate based on what the energy costs are as they're bought for, the power's bought for them through the own power agency. The rate that we're showing, like the 7230 from June to October and the 7886 from October to next June, is their energy, their transmission fee, and purchase energy adjustment. So if you're on ComEd, you'll see those 3 items that make up the supply. On a supplier, you just have the one rate that includes all that.
But we're gonna get billed from ComEd still.
Correct.
And what I'm asking is ComEd gonna add anything to the Dynergy rate?
No.
But not for supply.
For supply?
You had a question, Henry?
Just suggest that we put an article in the Village Voice before the letter comes out.
And on the website. Okay, do I hear a motion? Cheryl, why don't you make it? I think you've got the clear handle on the facts.
I'll move that we, for our 3 accounts, we accept the Dynegy 3-year bid.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain?
Aye.
Trustee Ford?
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein?
Aye.
Trustee Haber?
Aye.
Trustee Hollander? Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mike, for your good work as always.
Could I get 2 more minutes? Sure. Just to recap. So, just kind of let you know, on the program, we think there's about 1,320 accounts here from what ComEd's data gave us. Right now, there's 1,098 active accounts for the village. The vast majority of people that are on supply are on the program. So just to let you know, it is a popular program. And so like 1,100 out of 1,300 accounts is in aggregation program. And the other thing is November 8, 2011 was the first day that I was in the old building that I come and met you. So really happy to be doing the business for the community. That's when I first met Mayor Kaplan and your attorney. And I thought you were on the board. You asked me so many questions. I didn't know what. It's been a nice partnership. And the last thing, something new, is we're having our suppliers send these out in the opt-out letters. and if you talk about your ordinances, if people have these, and they want to post them, and solicitors do come to your door, the other communities are making it, like a trespass. So you will get a placard, all the people get a letter, will get a placard like this.
We appreciate the placard because our ordinance does say if it's posted, the solicitors aren't supposed to be there. We have our own placard that the chief hands out, but,
I hand them out and also records, Village Hall has them, the information desk.
so Mike, again, we appreciate it. I think it's been a very good partnership. I know we've benefited from it, so again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you need these signed out, or we sign them in fax until tomorrow?
If we haven't signed tonight, I'll be glad to wait, and we'll have it done. One other thing I want to mention, the sheet that looks like this has got the 7 suppliers on it. The ComEd rate for what you use for 250,000 kilowatt hours a year would be 19,511. With the Dynegy rate that you selected, the cost for your pumping accounts is 14,502. So you are saving $5,000 a year, about 25% on your pumping rates. So I just wanted to point that out.
Great, we do appreciate it.
Can I ask a
Oh,
question?
yes, Mike.
On the pumping rate, do you guys do a renewable option on that?
I don't believe we have. You would encourage us to do so, I believe, if I'm reading your normal.
Why not be consistent?
So, okay. All right, well, I'm gonna look at these and then get them to you in the morning. I'm sure council is fine, he told me they're fine, but I have this funny habit of wanting to read what I'm signing.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, final item of business, which again, I am hoping will be short. An ordinance concerning film production permits in the village of Riverwoods, first reading. Do I have a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of having first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have first reading. Again, council, do you have any comments? No?
My only question, I don't know anything about this area. Are these the usual types of restrictions?
Yes.
As always, we show sincere flattery to other communities by trying to copy what seems to be a reasonable ordinance. There's no old business, standing committee reports, trustee Haber, trustee Chamberlain.
Nothing.
Okay, your reports are attached to the,
Yes, there.
on the environment are attached. Trustee Jamerson is not here. Trustee Ford,
No report.
trustee Goldstein, trustee Hollander.
No report.
All right, I know of no reason to go into executive session. The next regular meeting is set for June 19th, 2018 at 7:30. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Do I hear a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.